Hey everyone. I'd like to update my blog, and it does come in relation to a lot of things I find to keep up. A lot of emotions, anxiety from things that may come to stress us are incorporated. I think continuing with the journal is fine. I will follow up with therapy later to figure out where it kind of goes. But the next thing is on my onwards was the picking up the onwards project, which worked out good. Actually, I'm having a lot of fun. I will now be exploring a good concept of relation to memorization, and a good key theme of it was comes down to be able to talk about the skills that we can kind of like work on to be able to remember things, right? So two books that I've used in relation to be able to learn things and thought it would be great practical was the memory book How to Remember Anything You Want, Tony Susan, and How to Develop a Brilliant Memory Week by Week by Dominic O'Brien. They're very short reads and they come into different strategies. Having personally also been in a situation where I kind of had difficulties learning consistencies, a good portion of there's different things, right? So I'm just talking about the aspects of like learning things and being able to like use the skill to be able to find ways to interact better with your environment. It's charismatic. It's like and it's a great sign of intelligence. It's stimulating for the brain, and it comes overlaps with things that you can do your everyday life, so it doesn't feel like too much of a chore. Now, I felt on reading certain things, procedural memory, I think is what I was kind of coming at the aspects of trying to figure out. Sorry. Uh, so like um, I think the active thoughts was that the book was telling you to just like try to memorize just by looking at the list and what so, and that kind of procedural memory is just like uh, flashcards, cue cards. What do you call that? Just using that and then to remember stuff. Not the biggest fan of that, to be honest. In honesty, but like, um, um, it requires the most amount of effort. The one that I enjoyed the most were visualization keys on things that you may do and you practice with and play with, whatever bias that you do. So you do an activity, you stimulate, you learn it. Overlapping that stimulation comes in lines to others. Overlapping the activities that you do that there are a lot of the art implies the arts. I've also been a fan of like film industries, watching stuff, sports related things, but like they help you process both parts of your brain, and this helps make it easier. So when you try to learn stuff, they are easier than forcing yourself to memorize things, right? So having a good amount of uh, balance in your life probably is better for you in the long term for your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, and developing better habits. So there's a less implicative implication on feeling exhausted, especially in the circumstances when you put a lot of effort and you don't know the outcome. You can't control all of it. You can just do your best, right? All it is just building some resilience and knowing that you've done a very good job with the skills that you have. Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk about relation to aspects of what I'm trying to talk about. So I just want to go in depth. Why is it so good to project yourself into matters as intelligent? Well, it's a bit of a charm, charismatic game here, right? Attractive traits dating back from the Roman empires in their mythology. Mnemosyne, the word mnemonic comes from her name and refers to memory techniques to learn in relation to stuff like politics and public settings, stuff that is mentioned on in relation to histories or like movements that have pushed over a group of people, being able to influence basically. And those who displayed phenomenal ability to learn and memory were were a good direction towards people choosing sides where they wanted to be led or what direction they wanted to do. I'm the same. I will gravitate towards what I think is in lines of like a good portion of my bias, right? So someone being able to display themselves in a very intelligent manner in the cultural setting that they're in, likely I would pull in their direction and want to stir influence in that way. Um, so there are also sense like modalities of senses that comes in line in life that comes to help deal with memorization such as smell, seeing, hearing. So something called sympathesia. It's a kind of a very rare thing. I guess I'd like to mention it because it also puts down the idea of like different sensory tones modality that comes in play of being able to like makes things more evident or make an impact on when you're going through like and having emotions on things and enjoying things. So like, well, that's the arts as well. It's a package that you take in and you process, enjoy, and may help you process go through life, influencing you in some way or what. So there's a lot of beauty in doing this. It's a bit of a show preparation as well, right? What can I tell you? So they say that the most beautiful goddess proved by the fact that Zeus spent more time in the chambers of Minosa, according to the book that I was reading, than any other goddess or mortals, producing muse who preside over love, poetry, hymn, dance, and comedy, tragedy, music, history, and astronomy. Humor tend to be funny things tend to make people remember things in a different context, being a bit unusual as well. Sorry, and but you'll have a lot of more enjoyment doing stuff if you have fun doing it, and some of the things can come in lines of being methodical, in a very serious tone, so you have a structure in your life and for better consistency. So yeah, all these things, all these exercises that I'm going to go through, and I want to talk to you because I wanted to try to put these exercises into practice to help with my ability to integrate with people. At some point, maybe go to a party. I don't know, and like display aspects of making me feel like I'm engaging. I'm taking interest in people. I'm feeling them, making them feel good about themselves and all that. It's just those kind of skills that come in line of it, right? So a lot of things that obviously learning comes in lines of academic success. It should correlate. That's a good portion of how you should be developing in life and becoming a capable person or whatso. And so the idea of mnemonics. Let's go with Mnemosyne, right? The goddess, the Greek goddess in relation to that. This is a practical thing, right? It does require effort. A lot of people can, if you form your own mnemonic, a lot of people feel they get it better. It may be easy to memorize other ones. My personal experience depends how much you want to engage on it. So I would say, like, if I have something that's very important, like a baseline fundamental, maybe it's worth trying to see if I can make a mnemonic out of it. I'm not a huge fan of mnemonics in the sense that I have to memorize every one of them. No, I think it's an asset of a tool that you should use and cater it to your preference. If you're the kind of person that loves mnemonics, maybe you know haikus, you're used to haikus. Maybe these things are kind of for you. More for me, it's like a memorization checklist, which I'm not a huge fan to do because I prefer being engaging, going out and do stuff, and using more imagination activities. So these things are a good portion of that makes me happy, so that I can enjoy what I'm learning and going through things without feeling overstressed. I feel these days, what's the point of overstressing yourself? You might as well enjoy the whole process and see what works for you. Visualization in your brain is a great way of being able to memorize things. I was going to display this in relation to an exercise that I was going to do. I've tried a few videos and I will be releasing contents. Please watch as I try to make aspects of learning memorizing cards, and it's just a bit of practice. I will say that it took me a few times to rehearse it, so it's not something I could just do at a flip of the card, But it's fun to make it, and I may share some videos of my insight on my experience of it because I like saying I've managed to find some ways creatively to be able to learn things in a manner that makes it fun for me. Plus, cards games are fun. I cannot emphasize how a good portion of my enjoyment of doing stuff I want to have fun doing, right? Okay, yeah. So storytelling. Storytelling is also a big habit. There's an example strategy called the room method, and the room method in the Roman Empire it displays an implication of like going into a setting and then building a picture by going inside the room. So I look inside the room, my desk is there, right? And in the desk, I will try to put key objects that I'm trying to remember as flags to be able to bring out this portion of me so it's easier for me to recollect. Recall is probably one of the things that I feel is difficult to come in component of being able to memorize stuff. So like let's say I want to memorize a few colors. Okay, colors might be a bad example because of means recurring in my head, So that's not a good way for it. Let's try something that's a bit more abstracted. I like animals. Okay, let's say I have to memorize dogs, yeah, and cats, and yeah. Okay, so like I'll go in a room. Um, I'm in the center, and I see in the center there is a bone. I pick the bone, and then it, and I throw it, and immediately a dog would, in the corner of the room would come in and catch it, and then after run over the next thing. So the dog sees the bone, catches it, and and it sees this cat, and they start to have a quarrel or fight. And then onwards, I would see next the cat. So let's go was I don't know like the cat jumps and didn't want to fight the dog. Escalates on the top of the different shelves, and on the top the toy giraffe, whatever, you know, and the giraffe is busy eating, ignoring the cat completely, and at the end of it, there's an awkward silence because there's a giant elephant in the room because something's weird. This is just an example of like process. This is probably harder. I just wanted to put the direction on some focus on animals, maybe that's my bias, but it might be a bit unhealthy as well for me to obsess too much about animals. But animals. Yeah, that's it. I kind of take in lines of why I love animals, like, in that sense, right? So let's move on to the next aspects of other techniques that I thought were coming. So this is the one that I thought storytelling comes in line. The book was giving me an exercise of memorizing planets on the solar system. The book kind of gives you a bit of a sketchy example, so I tried to do something a lot simplified, right? So the idea is like you've got water. Water comes down, and water is a plant, which is a Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap is planted on the soil, and then on the soil the sun is bright, shining down on it. This is on a field of junipers, which are called plants. And this was done on Saturday, and then the next part is I think it was in lines of like wanting to urinate, and then maybe the aspects of yeah, and then the other two ones are kind of like easier just for me to memorize. So I couldn't really find something to visualize easier. To order down is kind of mental, but generally it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then last one is the dog, Pluto, right? So like that is the picture I kind of try to simplify it as much as you can. Don't overcomplicate it. It's much easier for you to recall it. I've gotten easier plasticity. I think it is in the memory book, How to Remember Anything You Want. Have a look at their example, make a comparison, and see if you can make it simpler for yourself. I recommend the simpler the better for some of it. So yeah. Okay. So another expression I want to talk about is they talk about a lot of different things, and keeping engaged in like mental sports activity, mind sports comes in line. So stuff like in the book will mention chess, puzzles, and other games, or everyday modernization. There are other stimuli games, video games, but they have an element of like some of it will be repetition, but some of it will have an implication of being able to stimulate you in some way. It depends what you play and how you engage with it. Being able to talk to other people, and there's a different maturity with age, but you can expect that, right? So the other thing I wanted to try out as an example strategy is Cummins' lines of being able to recall during a learning process tendencies that whenever you do something, generally it's easy to remember the first thing you do and the last thing that's happened. How does this work? Maybe you can do a lot of small snippet pictures, one place at a time, to be able to recollect things that may be important. That's something cool that I feel like I'll try to strategize if I ever come and want to express those kind of ideas for creativity. So something that's unique tends to be memorable as well. And generally, when you're learning, you have to take breaks. Don't be those people that it tells you have to methodically do things. No, I'm an avid believer that you should take breaks when you try to learn something, and you should take the experience to be as enjoyable, for to do your best on it. It's just like you update it, your journal, and then you figure out you prioritize on it. This is a healthy way of like developing yourself in a manner, and to incorporate things that you want as a greater less satisfaction. And how will it work? Well, you probably be more successful than other people. So that's a good implication if you're being better than than other people, right? So setting a schedule for your learning, and then having a routine of how when you're doing and putting yourself to learn and pick up things, it helps you put in the pacing. Sometimes mornings can be a bit hard for you. I always try to get over that. Nighttime can be a bit more engaging, but then you can play. But like have a routine generally. So procedural memory, I think it's called that in Lane 2. So I'm not going to go in a very neurobiological aspect, because if you go to memory, very easy to go into neurology. So for neurology, I think it's very technical on certain aspects, and it is not needed for the content of like what I'm trying to express. I'm talking about strategies more than a biological aspect, but it would have opened up a lot of things that I think would be fun to kind of like explore for my bias, since I am still medical and I still want to be a doctor. I still want to be working as a doctor. I am a doctor already, sorry. Um, so having rhythm with words, so this can come in line with songs as well and music, and placement of location, and there's placements. Being able to learn in different locations also comes down to stimulating different parts of your brain. That is absolutely correct as well. It comes in lines of like going to read something and then associating an image and location to what you've tried to learn. You can do that kind of placement, and then when you visit that place, you'll remember that you did that learning aspect for that. Be a bit methodical. It's kind of like exploring and learning. Does that make sense? That's the idea of like just you do more stuff in creativity, the more it's engaging, stimulating, and great for you. And I feel happy when I did. So if you guys are not feeling happy in the long term, like me, I feel happy doing these things, and I feel if these activities can connect people and feel like they like this form of development for themselves, then it's good. Life is about having fun, but like having fun in manners that are healthier and enjoyable. You do have to cut out the toxicity in people who are um, who don't come in lines with your core beliefs that you think should be. Because let's be honest, the world is not necessarily fair, and yeah, I don't want to go into detail about that. Don't worry. I know what I am like, and I feel like I would like to mix with people similar to me. So yeah. So this task could talk about memorizing 40 to 50 items. That would be impressive. Maybe I'll try to attempt here using the journey method in relation to location and environment. Maybe I will. We will see. Yeah. Okay, so practicing overlapping systems of memory to be formed associated to remember things. Remembering faces and names. Believe it or not, remembering faces is very difficult, and I'll talk about a different strategy that the book has come down. Something is personal bias for me as well that I should be making more effort to do that, and I apologize. I apologize that I have difficulty with these tasks, but it's normal for people to not have a good idea, not be able to remember names names associated with faces all the time. I thought this was interesting. I mean, I wasn't going to go into too much detail of the biology aspects, but like brainwaves, it comes in correlation of being able to trace thought process and good plasticity. So I think they were saying about certain brainwaves, but like this isn't something that I feel like as a strategy you're able to do by yourself to be able to find ways to stimulate your brains in that manner. So I'll leave that for now. The application of the zone for athletes when they remember certain movements that they memorize to be able to do skillful movements, and the sequence of movement and execution found that it correlates well with the ability to produce relaxation and stress control and sleep. Being good at what you do gives you a sense of satisfaction and confidence, right? So they measured this. It may be associated with some relation to delta waves. Skilled athletes that did things and they were able to detect the waves to be able to do things. Memory zones tends to seem to link between slower and fast brain waves. Okay, so both are implied in that way. Exercise is good, but we're talking about aerobic exercise more than physically being attractive. But I don't think it's both. But if you're focusing on yourself to be able to like remember things because you are in a stress environment to be able to know stuff, and that's more in line with your priorities of your lifestyle, aerobic exercise is the better way of going through it. Uh, yeah, you could do other stuff. So there's other strategies that I looked at it and I felt were a bit difficult to go out of my. They require a bit more effort for me to like get comfortable using. So like for me, the rhyme system, uh, generally a bit too difficult. It's a bit of a number game, right? Because you associate a number and something like that. And I didn't say I explore too much right now. And the alphabet journey system, which is also something that you need some thought process to be able to go through. I know they exist. They exist. These strategies. They're just really hard to get through. I say to get through because they use different strategies. Maybe because it's come in lines of like language and being able to incorporate stuff. So they're they're not in a comfort zone for me to be able to remember. Beta rays were found to be associated with increased mental activity, decision making, and problem solving. These things are just kind of like nice snippets in relation to say detecting brain activity correlation to memory. They could be useful though. So memory is always going to be useful for whatever academic pursuit you have, like history, um, right? So like the association of numbers with names that comes in lines was I think that was the rhyme system. So 16666 ashes, 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 the Great Fire of London. So I would talk a bit more about the as a book, the Tony Susan one. Oh no, that's the one I was talking about before actually. The other one also been brilliant work with Mallory developed week by week, and exercise includes. This is what I'm going to do. Memorize a deck of cards. I found that was pretty cool. Memorizing faces, which can be an exercise, but I think I have to go out of my way to be able to do that. So like I just feel like it's something natural I should be able to do when I enter like a party, whatever. I Emotions are a very big, huge part in how we remember stuff as well. I'd be a guilty implication of this when I'm just trying to learn. Someone attractive teaching you something, and then it's easier to remember stuff that they say at the time that you had that perspective of them, right? So, odors and smells comes in lines of like being able to remember things as well. They are directly linked in the association to particular parts of the limbic system in relation to that, and they have direct connections there. I cannot go in that much detail. I wanted to explore this because like the whole idea when you go on dates, perfume, cologne, and all that, it's not just a fancy thing. This is coming in lines to provoking. You're preparing yourself to provoke great experiences with whoever you're planning to charm and get intimate with. So it's worth making the effort, in my opinion. It just makes the package that much more beautiful and enjoyable. So you could kind of like, even your everyday task is boring. You can find something you see every day and make an association and recollection to that, right? And that can help with the expression of thought process. Something that made you feel good, and then linking things in that way to pull in good implication of remembering stuff. Okay, so let's talk about something. It can also, I have to say this one. This one's pretty funny. I think everyone can relate to this because everyone put in the issues of putting that as a higher grossing movie. You could use a famous celebrity's face in lines of being able to remember and memorize things. So, for example, Barbie. Yeah, so there was some mixed feelings on my end on relationship. Her face has been put out there so much as an attractive actress, Margaret Robbie for relation for Barbie. So I'm gonna put it something that's a bit harder to memorize. Okay, say what would be hard for me to remember. Uh, uh, Maybe in relation to numbers or something like that, like really long digit numbers, right? So I'll use her face as a template and find ways to template, find these numbers to be able to incorporate digits and all that. And like, if you use that as your base in relation to that, it'll become much easier to kind of like recall things on a faster process. So you'll just find it easy to remember. And if you have to recall something, I can see her face. Yeah, there you go. Or maybe if the name of someone that you don't know, right? So it's like put a tag there. Sorry. So this is a good examples of like say stuff that you see on a casual basis having a huge influence, and I'm pretty sure it was the money that was made by Barbie. That's a big implication that most people can associate her face was something that they'll be able to easily recall. A good strategy for creativity and the aspects of taking. Yeah, so like I'll talk more about remembering faces on a skill, social skill, and like for me it's just like oh shit. Normally people don't do are not good as that. You come here doing that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be impressed and be like, shit, you're smart. I'll talk more about some of these things, ambitious memory projects that I came in lines of trying to like doing, and I'm incorporating strategies because they're practical and lanes of like what you can do, so you can make some form of learning fun. And remember, a lot of the procedural memories of like long-term memory comes in lines of like when you get a concept, try to summarize efficiently the first time. I don't like overspending too much time into it as well. I like doing other stuff, so like it's up to you. Don't go into too much detail. I made that mistake as well. I was trying to pick up stuff, right? Get some concept, learn that, and then space your repetition from when you have to recall and see how much you've remembered. This is good for essay writing if that's your assessment. Now, do you have to cater things towards the assessment in relation to academic progress, right? So, MCQs are going to be in lines of that. So yeah. So also unpleasant memories can also have a detrimental effect for people. Something that was really bad for them make them can cause more stress, and increased stress then correlates with detrimental in terms of memory. So, the better you are at being happy, the better your your intelligence develops, the better your body can develop. So like, yeah, it will depend on certain bias, but like an increased cortisol stress is actually detrimental on the effects of like being able to learn things on a greater scale if that's the expectation of what you need to do. So mnemonic, I should have related that quite a bit better before, but like maybe you want to take implication of like understanding what Greek words means. Medicine also derives a lot of its language coming from Latin. Latin being a good portion of like if you know that you may understand a lot of the language that's used for the terminology for higher expectations of you showing that you're worth the effort in that community setting. Mnemon means mnemonic or mnemon mindful. I heard a good quote in relation to like what sympathy and empathy, sympathy. I think in relation to have the same. So you had the disease as well in comparison to be able to sympathize with someone who's suffering the same way. Empathy is the opposite. You never had it, but you're kind of like doing a appreciation. But sympathy probably resonates more emotionally because like you were in that same boat, right? So this is something I recalled from exposure in my volunteering experience. I feel like this is a good explanation in relation to coming in portions of like the coming in lines of old terminology in correlating with learning with understanding learning, or coming into understanding better meanings of words when we're using to describe them. So creativity and imaginations are a good portion. Memorizing telephone numbers can be very difficult task. It's something they use on a daily basis to be able to display that you're good. If you can memorize digits, also can be detrimental in some other effects if you're either very flexible mind in some things. But yeah. But yeah, those are some nice aspects. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of movie references to talk about related stuff in relation to humor that I can accessibly pull out quite easily in my head, And if I make an association to a story building on that fact, the movie made me feel good, and I want to do, and I can easily incorporate it in lines of like something I may have to do in relation to methodical work, and I could put that in there, and then people, maybe some people will get it, maybe it's something because movie is something we're all watching, and it make an appreciation if we have a unison of feelings as what so like it's a good way of like spicing up something that can be feel boring to other people without too much effort. I feel. Yeah, yeah. And there are some cool quotes. Now I'm not much of a history guy, right? So, but like even I can make you appreciate the iconic figures like one from the UK, Winston Churchill, coming times of saying, um, in the past, pessimists see difficulty in every opportunity. Optimists see the opportunity in every difficulty. Optimists are more likely to be able to tackle challenges that are most people will find too difficult to do, and you want to be on that side. uh, so I'm not gonna to put too much, but like obviously he's very influential, being in a position where he came in lines of the UK, and like that culture of holding a cigar and a bottle of scotch, or high socialite or what's so. I mean, it's just like yeah. I mean, for me that's just an implication. Like he socialized a lot, and still managed to display high charismatic abilities of intelligence in the right moment. Knowing how to use information is a good portion of like where you display your abilities. Yeah. So like there's a lot of skills that can come in lines of like displaying how to remember stuff, right? I'm coming. I'm coming close to an end, but like since my exercise of like, maybe I'll talk to this later because I'm gonna do that exercise. Foods also can come in supplements. The book particularly stresses out particular aspects of vitamin A, C, and E, which help with aiding memory, as they kind of act as antioxidants, fruits and vegetables. Uh, Oranges are a good antioxidant purpose to deal with free radicals in the brain, and red pepper, spinaches, and all that. So like just being a bit mindful in your diet as well makes a big difference in the long term. I mean, you want to make things easier, so you want to make things that are hard easier, right? In a relation to that, not to say that you rely on a computer to do everything. All right, well, I don't want to go into that detail because like for me, like I don't like the way people have developed and become lazy with the expected implication of technology replacing skills that are well so that I was like yeah go forward for that, but like for me it's just like and like there's always going to be each generation where people are lazy, and I want to stay away from lazy. I feel that kind of technology reliance brings about laziness, and I don't want to conform to that matter, thinking I can do these things and I can still be very happy and enjoyable and successful, pushing myself to make myself say like like no, I just don't like laziness. I mean, I have an example of people who become lazy and when they get a certain age, they just don't change and they are more detrimental. But like, so like I just can't hold the implication. Like complacency, planned procrastination. If you've watched my previous video, is different from being lazy because you become lazy, you don't do the things you need to do, and for me, it's just like long term. That's a red flag for me to move away. And as I mentioned before, health-related topic exposure to too much stress can be damaging to memories and can interfere with the production of neurons because of stress. And lack of stimulation and mental stuff can also, so you're bored. Being bored is another thing that can make you stupider. So that's also the implication of like over reliance of technologies to have access to everything. Mentally, you'll be bored. You find other ways to stimulate yourself in different ways, but um, they can lead to they may lead to detrimental effects in your environment. Does that make sense? Really, because of contextualizing, I would again advise anybody that feels like this things are kind of off for themselves to seek in lines of therapy for that kind of things to get that optimal lifestyle that you want to be. Again, life is about developing where you want to be, who you want to be, how you want to be remembered, how you want to be seen as. It's like yeah, I mean, living a more fulfilled life in that expectation of what. So I don't want to get too philosophical. I don't see the point of that. But yeah, um, yeah, that's fine. And generally feeling good is a good portion of like a good portion of like alleviating because I we talk about mental stress being on the rise, but like having a gratitude journal and meditating is a positive. I've cross referenced this with a lot of good YouTubers who have very smart, intelligible content, and there is a good emphasis of having a gratitude journal to come in lines of helping you feel better, especially if you're in a circumstances where there's a lot of stress or situation. Again, everyone's situation is different. I'm hoping that if anyone's watching this, they're feeling low, they find some they find hard to keep motivated for things, to keep motivation. These small habitual traits can give you a benefit in the long run. That's why we'll kind of take a stance, and you got to decide as well for yourself what you want to be. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for anyone paying attention that had fun with this. I'm ongoing with making a routine schedule for uploads, and I do plan to later on put money aside funds just to see how I can pick up this channel to become maybe more accessible. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I'll have to figure out. So the future of this channel is developing, but what I can do is build a good sense of reliance of what you can expect me to do content or things that may be fun for you to watch in relation to this. Bye. Thank you so much. I'll be yeah. Hope you enjoy. I hope this pushes you to want to learn stuff. This pushes you to want to uh, do things as well to feel happier and self satisfaction as well. Because for me, those traits are attractive. And when I see that in other people, I'm attracted to them. Yeah. It's like yeah. So decide for yourself. Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for putting the effort to watch the effort I placed on making something of an entertaining video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, it's not forced, but like I really would appreciate any contribution and support you give to this channel, as it gives me more motivation and more incentive to enjoy more video creating and content creation. Uh, if you find that the content's drifts away at any point, you can always unsubscribe. It's no big deal. Again, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't take much from you, but it means a whole bunch of me. And it would feel great if you would just reward my efforts of trying to be positive and contributionary. Thank you so much. Bye.